Clint, thanks for being here. Appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah.
Are you from here?
Not. I'm from northern Utah, South Jordan specifically. So born there and lived there even after I got married, went to the University of Utah. And I've been in southern Utah now for about 7 years.
Okay. And actually, this is where these questions start going. Why did you end up here? So you have a business here.
Right.
Zonos, here in southern Utah. You came here, I'm assuming, for a reason. And so you came here for a reason, but you didn't start your business until after you were here, right? I mean, this is
no, actually. So I actually did start it up north.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah. So back about 2010, I'd worked in logistics. I worked at DHL and UPS, and had kind of conceptualized this idea of facilitating cross-border trade through technology. And because I dealt a lot with just people are trying to ship their products all over the world, and they weren't even willing to sell their products because of the complications with things that we don't worry about a lot in the U.S., like taxes and tariffs. Anyway, so I kind of just had a small prototype MVP, minimum viable product that we built and that would help facilitate international orders, and started the business up there in 2010. And about three and a half years in, I think we were probably at around 8 employees. And at the time it was like, if I'm ever going to move, probably should have done a little earlier, but it was, that was probably my last chance. Otherwise we'd keep hiring there. And I probably, not that I don't love northern Utah. We came here because we just love the weather, right? I don't miss the inversion. My wife hated the snow. And so this provided an opportunity to settle down somewhere where we wanted to be for a long period of time and build a business here. So move the business down here. I moved almost everybody down here. We still have a few remote employees up there that stuck around, but we brought a few with us.
This is such an important issue. And having done a bunch of these interviews now, this topic comes up so often, where you have building your business where you want to be, and for a lot of people, that's ends up being a smaller community. I mean, because right now we're in St. George, Utah, which is, I don't know how many, 100 some odd thousand, 100 plus something. I'm not sure where it is right now.
200,000 in the total, maybe close to 200,000. I think
when you get all
Washington County, maybe. I think 180 or 200.
So it's considerably smaller than where you came from.
Oh yeah.
So Salt Lake's a lot bigger. I moved here from Denver. Similarly, I decided to move the business because I wanted to be someplace that I wanted to be. I was sick of the people, the congestion, the weather. And similarly, so you said you've already got this business, and you specifically moved it here for lifestyle reasons.
For lifestyle, absolutely.
And so that's a common theme where people. So now you have this business, you have these big vision for, and obviously if because it's dealing with logistics.
A little bit, right. We help facilitate kind of the logistics of it, but we're not a logistics company at all. We're a technology company, totally cloud-based.
Okay.
Like SaaS type solution. But we're working closely with companies and trying to facilitate their logistical moves with our technology.
And my point is here, you have a company here that's dramatically scalable. I mean, it's something that could, so you have this vision here where this thing could be just enormous, obviously huge. And yet you move from someplace big into someplace small.
Yeah.
And to build your bigger business. And so once again, chasing lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so now you're here, you take this business, you move it down to southern Utah, you bring a couple people with you, and now you have the issue of, okay, now we're here down in a smaller community, a smaller city, and there's all these different things that you have to start dealing with, not the least of which is the first thing you said, you brought people with you, but now you've got a talent pool that is dramatically smaller than being in a big city. So how does that impact you, or what is that an issue for you, and if so, how? And how do you work with it?
Well, look, I think that there's opportunities that come with this, but there's also challenges, right? And you identified the challenges, which were in a smaller community. Finding the talent locally all the time, it can sometimes be a little more difficult. But there are other. But if to talk to the opportunities, and the reason that I think we've been able to scale so far here, and I think we can scale long term here, is one, there are up northern Utah, your challenges are you are competing with everybody else for that talent and you're now, you're kind of have a lot of mercenaries out there just looking for the highest price job. Here, even though I think we pay just as competitive as Northern Utah, we provide an opportunity for the same people that were like me, where it might be someone that went to DSU. It might be someone whose spouse grew up here. It might just be someone that's looking for warmer weather or a change of lifestyle. And when we open applications, we get bombarded with talent, with engineers and everything else that want to move here. So
okay.
So far that's worked pretty well for us. It's where it does get a little bit difficult, I think, is you get more to the VP level and executives that you're trying to bring in. There's some different challenges there. But honestly, the technology is the biggest leverage that allows anyone to build a business anywhere. So, meaning that, look, we just hired a guy in the UK, right? Like, and actually he may end up relocating here, but in the end, you can still pick a community like this to build a business. In every business in a way is a tech business, or if they're not, they can leverage the internet for their benefit. Like even the case of your business, right? Whether that's blogging or podcasts or videos, that's leverage that allows you to build a business in a location like this. So sure, there's challenges, but there's also different types of opportunities, and life's short. So yeah, live where I get to live where I want to live and build the business here. Like that's great. So I love that.
And it's interesting listening to this because you literally are finding people that are interested themselves in being here for the lifestyle, for the outdoors, I'm assuming, I mean, there's so many different things that make this place attractive. So you don't have it. So you're really finding people that,
right.
So you see, in other words, you're not limited to this talent pool.
No,
you're able to, because a lifestyle like this is attractive to people.
Yeah,
there's people willing to make the
it's a
move.
balance. I mean, we first and foremost do our best to try to find talent in the community when we can. Like that's super important. We want to be able to contribute to the community, which also means sometimes you're importing talent that can now bring up a set of, let's say, 4 or 5 really sharp engineers and train them on how to become engineering managers or product managers to lead a product team. And so I think bringing that talent in that has seen other tech companies scale to help our team get better is just going to provide more and more opportunity for the community here. So it's a balance. I mean, I do think we still, in this new world, remote work is going to be a part of that. But for us, it's not going to be the primary driver. We are not going to be a digital first company. We are definitely a St. George headquartered company with employees that might be elsewhere, but for the most part, everybody's here.
So now you've moved your business down here. You're able to find employees, and you've actually had pretty dramatic growth since you've been in this area.
Right. Yeah, especially recently. So look, it's if you double, or let's say that you grow, let's say 50% year over year when you're at 10 people, it didn't feel like a lot when you went from 10 to 15. When right now, when we're growing and we're, going from, 34 people last summer to potentially looking at 100 people this summer, yes, things have changed a lot. And COVID's one of those things that is definitely accelerated e-commerce. But that's not the primary driver. It's part of it. There's been a lot of other things in our industry, like Brexit. Like everybody knows about Brexit, right? Like that caused a massive disruption in trade. That means that somebody's got to figure out how to help people now trade with the UK. Things like that have provided other opportunities for us. And so, yeah, we're amidst growing at a rate that is on a bigger number, that is quite impactful and a little stressful sometimes, but fun, right? So, we're I think one of the best places to work in the state, and so we have a team that's been around a long time, and we're just figuring it out. We don't take ourselves too seriously. We're just doing our best to kind of manage what's happening.
So now, from a communication standpoint, you have to market your services, and you're not in a big city where you'd normally have some of those connections.
Yeah.
How do you go about
Yeah, it's a good question.
Marketing and communicating.
Look, I think typically in a technology company, they have a marketing team that does demand gen, and they do advertising, and then pull in leads that then they push to sales. Being bootstrapped, because we haven't raised any institutional funding,
wow.
It's been a little bit different. So for us, we've created these channel partners that have just given us a huge amount of leads and opportunities to grow the business. So for instance, like UPS, right? We are the solution that UPS refers into for any time this problem is occurring with their customers, right? So their sales force is like our sales force, and it feels like in many ways. FedEx will do the same thing. DHL will do the same thing. And so we'll get leads from these partners, but that's how we've generated a lot of our growth. Is we've created a product that doesn't just improve the lives of an e-commerce seller. It improves the lives of a logistics company, right? And their relationship with their customers. And so, that's worked pretty well for us. It's a little more unique than maybe how some other companies have grown. But it was a right way to build the product for our customers for sure.
You're dealing with some pretty massive organizations. When you start talking about UPS and you start talking about DHL, or I don't know who your clients are everywhere, but that's some pretty big stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm curious, is there any trepidation from the other direction working with a company in a smaller market? Does that ever even come up?
Right. Not a lot. Not the smaller market, no. When you're a smaller company, yes. Right? Okay. I don't think the market's a big concern. I think your size sometimes is a concern. The fact that I used to work at UPS, that was a little bit of a hurdle to get over, right? Like, okay, we have someone that used to work here that's now doing this, and do we want to partner with them? But yeah, the market isn't, the location isn't quite, I'd say Utah too, right? Like, so, and Utah has a great reputation for tech. And so even when they hear Southern Utah or St. George, Utah, they hear Utah, and to them, that kind of means we're connected into the same type of ecosystem of talent and of people that are all across the state. So hasn't been that bad.
That's actually a good segue into working in Utah. Obviously you made a choice to go wherever you did. You decided to stay in the state, in the state of Utah. What is there anything about Utah in particular, and maybe you've already answered this, but about Utah in particular that says I want to do business here? I know that actually I really know the tech thing. It's so interesting because I remember years ago driving up I-15 up towards Salt Lake and seeing the big Adobe building there. And I started really realizing, and then when I was in Denver at the time, I'd start working with a few different, I can't remember, there was a credit card processing company that was based here, and then there was a 3D animation company that started in St. George, and I started looking around going, man, Utah has got a lot of tech stuff going on. And I was realizing this when I was living in Denver. And so, and it got me thinking, what is it about that state that has all of this stuff happening there? So is that one of the reasons that you stay here, or anyway?
No, I think or am I more that way because I'm from Utah, right? Like I think we've been you brought the Adobe building. That was Josh James starting. Now that was Domo. At the time, Omniture that he sold to Adobe. Adobe's here because first, I think, and foremost, Utah is very entrepreneurial, right? Right. And so a lot of that translated into tech. And so Josh James kind of got that kick-started, sells it to Adobe. Adobe came because they acquired Omniture, and massive acquisition that then you just have these other now just founders that start building businesses, and finally funding starts coming in, and because they can see the opportunities with the CEOs and founders here in Utah. I think we're at a different stage in Southern Utah, but we're at a different size as well. So where they were maybe 5-6 years ago, we are today. And there's some, we're not the only tech company in town. There are other really good tech companies that are growing here. And like you said, you drive up to Lehigh, you see that. Mm-hmm. People don't understand what Tech Ridge is going to look like in 5 years, right? They and for the few that have even driven up there to see the new buildings, the future of that is going to be just, I think, mind-blowing to the people here in Southern Utah.
It's actually, I'm really glad you brought that up, because one of the other things I usually like to ask about is finding a place for your business. my own experience coming down here when we were moving, because we built this big production studio here, was finding in Denver, I could find every variety of everything I could think of as a potential home. And you moved, and when I came down here and started looking for places, I was kind of this, and there's a couple of, but the options were way, way less. I was able to find something that worked pretty well, but how has that been for you and your business?
Look, I think when you have 10 to 20 to 30 employees, it's fine. When you have 50, and then when you have 100, where are you going to put them? And so, no, I would say that has been the major challenge. Is we want to build a company here that contributes to the community and employs people here. And now you run into real estate problems, and especially with how fast tech companies scale. We're at a point where we've already outgrown a space that holds 50. And what am I going to do for the next 2 years while buildings get built? Do you go to the Kmart and knock out the wall, and are just try to, I don't know. And so that is a challenge even for us today. But that's what Tech Ridge, and this is why it's so important. I think what the city has done with the community up there is creating a space that makes me feel like I have a place that I can build and be proud of the type of company that we're creating, and have be up there with other tech companies, just create an environment where people want to work and be every single day. And so, I think that long term we're going to be fine now that we have that opportunity up there. But it's still challenging because we don't have someone like up north. A tech company grows and scales and they leave the building. And then the other company that's growing and scaling can go into that building, right? They can kind of just follow each other through the, since we're, some of the early ones, us, Vasion, and some others, we're in Vasion's building, and they're going to need the spot that we're in at some point, right? We're both, growing fast. And so it's challenging. There's no doubt.
Actually, you just said something that I think is really important too. And this applies specifically to this area. All these other tech companies that exist here, is there synergy in that, and how much of a difference does that make in the existence of a tech company in this area?
Yeah, I think for a long time in Southern Utah we've had tech meetups, and I think the companies have been aware of each other. Tech Ridge has kind of brought a few more companies together, I think, and so us and Vasion were super close. So me and Ryan Weed know each other really well. Or if it's Busy and Isaac Barlow. And then we're also networking closely with TCN. And then even the smaller tech companies that are growing, like Aptivada and SmartCare. And, I'm going to forget some of the names, but yes, I think we all love where we're at down here. There's some challenges when, someone takes someone's employee or whatever and someone moves to another company, but I think that's probably healthy. A little bit of that going on. We're all pretty close.
That's awesome. Yeah, it is interesting when I started hearing about what they were doing with Tech Ridge and and you start getting a sense of, well, shoot, we had that discussion here that you were a part of a few months ago, and I started looking around going, we have a lot in this area. And and everybody seemed like they knew each other, and then that's what you're sitting here right now. I'm starting to think, and you mentioned, well, these people and these people. I thought there's got to be an amazing amount of synergy that happens when you have each other to play off of, and you know each other, and there's communication happening.
Yeah, we go to lunch or bounce ideas off each other, and I'm learning stuff from the companies that are smaller than me, right? Some of those CEOs are amazing, right? And then I'm talking to the ones that have grown past our scale and learning from them. That is super important in the tech community because there's a lot of similar principles we are dealing with, whether it's with how we price our products or how the revenue comes in. And so the team structures and the marketing all looks very similar a lot of times. So there's a lot you can learn from each other.
And you said something a minute ago that maybe heads us to the next point, which is the fact that Tech Ridge is being built up there, and that I don't remember how you put this, but it was something along the lines of what the plans are, because the city's kind of thought this through.
Yes. Yep.
So then the next question then would be related to government. You've got what kind of support or what kind of things could they be doing better? And we're talking about on a local level and on a state level. One of the benefits, of course, of having a a company in a smaller market like this, excuse me, is that the mayor probably just lives down the street. When I'm in Denver, Colorado, the mayor of Denver, you're never going to meet the guy,
right.
and he's got guards and all that kind of thing. But you hear,
yeah,
and oh, it's him, and the guy on the city council, and the maybe your state representative lives right down. Anyway, so that's a little bit different. So from a city, a local level, all the way to a state level. Maybe
yeah, but if I was to
that.
start with the local level. I think we've had a lot of support from the local level. Like you said, I mean, meeting with Michelle Randall right now, who's the mayor. She's like, come over to my office and just, talks with you for an hour, and you tell them, here's our challenges. We're stuck in our building. What are we going to do? Can we, put some containers out there to work out of? I don't know. Right. Like trying to figure that out. And the, both the, the mayor and the city council, I think are extremely supportive, because of the type, I think, of jobs we're bringing in. I think this is healthy for the community, that the type of businesses that we're building. What could they do better? I think that I remember when I moved here 7 years ago, I called the city and I'm like, hey, I'm moving here. Is there any advice, any help do you guys provide? And at the time it was like, why are you calling us? I'm sure they weren't used to like, who's moving here with their tech company? What's a tech company? I don't know.
That's awesome.
And so I think though that, now that would probably be a much different response. Like, let me tell you about Tech Ridge and all that kind of stuff. Right. So honestly, the city's great. On the state level, I think that the state, especially just with making it a business-friendly state with our laws and all of that, has enabled us to create a company here, and you don't even realize how many barriers that you're not experiencing because the state's brought that down. And then we have some good local representation for the state here that we talk to and are close with. So, but for sure, I think that the local's been more important to us so far.
Yeah, it is interesting watching even just the event that we saw, the What's Up Down South thing. There seems like so much effort being put into supporting businesses and making this really entrepreneur friendly, business friendly in general. The whole state seems that way. Yeah. And getting back to it, what you said a little while ago about all the technology companies that exist here, it is pretty amazing. Kind of surprising, I think, to some people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And another thing that's surprising to people too, and I don't know that this impacts you very much, but we have these really amazing businesses down here, but we have this very, very small airport. So that's kind of a limitation there. We don't really have a railroad that right. comes through here, and so we have some limitations as far as our transportation. One of the things I think a lot of people don't realize is how close St. George specifically is to Las Vegas.
Yes.
I mean, I fly in and out of there all the time. And it's actually one of the least expensive airports in the country to fly in and out of, and it's right down the street from us. But we do have an airport here. It's just limited as to what you can do. Do you have any challenges when it comes to that type of infrastructure?
Well, yeah. I mean, the obvious challenge is that there's only 5 or 6 destinations that St. George Airport is going to, connections out of here. But you talked about, railroad and all that other kind of stuff. Again, and our experience is a little different because we're in the tech industry. Mm-hmm. I'm not building a logistics company that does freight forwarding and supply chain stuff, right? So, we don't have tons of warehouses and need to get containers here and that kind of stuff. So, the nice thing about technology companies is, and I talked a little bit about this earlier, but the internet is the ultimate leverage, right? So you can create a big and amazing company that can scale here in Southern Utah, and those challenges like the airport and other kind of stuff doesn't really matter because what you're using is the internet and the cloud to connect you to, millions of people across the globe. So, but yes, when I do want to travel somewhere and I'm looking at flights and it's like, okay, do I want to fly out of St. George or Las Vegas? Price comes into account, right. And then, what's going to be I could fly to, I'm going to have a stop flying out of here, or I'm going to have to drive for, hour and 45 minutes, 2 hours. And, but that's okay. I can deal with that.
Yeah. And I think the nice thing about this too is when you watch companies like yours and others that are moving in here and growing, it's just going to get bigger. I mean, you look at the airport. I mean, from what the airport was 20 years ago compared to today, it's a totally different. I mean, it's not even in the same location.
Yeah.
And so St. George specifically is thinking big. You know, yes, it's a small airport, but over time, you're just going to see it expand more and more and more.
Well, and SkyWest is headquartered here. Like we are lucky to have SkyWest headquartered here. They're doing really well. I mean, they are a great company that is growing.
Use them a lot.
And so, I mean, I think that the future is bright. We do have growth challenges here, but yes, I think that we do have some amazing companies, not just in tech, that are in town.
Yeah, and the growth challenges are the nice thing is they're being addressed. You know, that once again, getting back to it, we have local city leaders that are thinking beyond. Just Tech Ridge alone.
Yes,
is a sign of what.
Yeah, I think they're having a hard time answering the housing the shortage of housing right now is definitely tough. But yes, I think that they are absolutely doing their best with in a way, maybe a good problem. So yeah, there's a lot of growth.
So I want to ask you something. What that's maybe not so related to the area, but related to you, and that is as a CEO of a growing company, what's the key? I mean, what is it that helps make a company like yours successful, no matter where it is?
Yeah, I think it's hard to answer this for everybody because everybody's a little bit different, right? And so for me, giving an environment where a team feels where you're empathetic with the team, because we're all trying to figure this out together, and giving people psychological safety, people that will then stick around forever, right? They will. And all of a sudden, after they have 4-5 years experience in your industry, right? Like we have people that have been here a long time. It's like, man, we have industry experts that none of our competitors have or anything else because we've been able to build that team. So I would say building that team and then being patient. It is so easy, right? Somebody comes to you and they want to buy your business, or they want to, or maybe I'll raise money so I can move this faster, so I can get there a year earlier. It's like, okay, if you have to do that, for sure, like I'm not opposed to getting funding. But if you're patient, you can actually build something really great if you treat the team well. And I think that is just absolutely key, is provide a place where people want to work and they enjoy doing things that are really hard together. And that's like our superpower is that everyone is trying to achieve the same thing. Now, is it super hard? Yes. Like growing this fast is hard. And we do get stressed out about it? Yes. But we have the base foundation that we all trust each other and we're in this together.
That's such a critical piece of building a business and entrepreneurship is that sense of mission. You know, you get a group of people together that say we're building something together, and if it's actually sometimes is useful if it's a little challenging.
Yeah, well, it is because
challenges to get over together.
Especially if it's and I think every company can find a mission people can get around. You know, in our case, because we're building a global product, and this is one of the other challenging things I didn't talk much about is, we need diverse international type talent working for us and helping us build something that us in the States that are from the States have not experienced this global trade. You know, everyone in Canada that's lived there and they bought something online, they know exactly what I'm talking about right now. Everyone in the States just, the eyes gloss over and they're like, I kind of see what you're talking about. And so we've had the challenge of also bringing in international talent, but that is so key, I think, to any organization that wants to build something special and big over time. You need a diverse mindset that is helping you to build that product, because a lot of our users are not in the US, right? And so,
right.
We've brought people in from, that are from different countries here, and that is, I think, key to our long-term growth, and is a challenge for sure.
Yeah, I hadn't even really thought about that much, but you're right. Although it's interesting is I've been here now for a couple years, and the diversity, strangely enough, is a little bit surprising to me.
Yeah.
We actually, last week here in the studio, recorded a music video for some people that are here from Ivory Coast in Africa. and it was just so, and it's so funny because the conversation I've had so many times ever since, like, what were they doing here?
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, it's just strangely enough, this, I think maybe part of the fact that not only do we have the universities here and we're close to Las Vegas, but we also, uniquely to Southern Utah, we've got this incredible outdoor lifestyle. You know, I mean, we've got all the national parks like Zion's National Park. I mean, you've got Moab, which is the mecca for all outdoors, you know, biking and so much of this stuff is around here that it actually attracts people. It's fascinating to me how often I'm on the phone with people because part of our business does national work, and it's amazing to me how often I'll be on the phone with somebody in New York or Los Angeles or something, and I'll mention St. George, and they will at least have driven through here.
Yeah.
And they'll say, "Man, it was so beautiful. You know, I love being there." And so there is an attraction to people from all over the place.
I was in Switzerland meeting with one of our larger customers. It's a big swimwear client, and you know, we're at lunch. And just talking about, you know, Southern Utah, and two of them had been to Zion National Park.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like
amazing.
And they love it. And so they've obviously been through here, and they can picture exactly where we are. So, yeah, that does not hurt when you're trying to recruit and find good people, or for people to even recognize where you're at and talking about Zion, and you know, the amount of people that are familiar with it and love it, and yeah, cool place to be.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously, Tech Ridge, we talked about it a couple times. Big deal. I mean, it's a big change here. What else could the city be doing to ensure its success, or what else should the city be doing?
Well, like I said, I think the
Ridge?
city is trying to do whatever they can to allow us to bring in the right talent. I mean, they want to and find the right just create the right environment to grow a company. But for sure, like Tech Ridge is it's not just, if it's just a series of buildings, that is not enough, right? Like the long-term plans hopefully for Tech Ridge involves that this live, work, play, recreation that's up there, right? So, I mean, there's plans for a zip line that could possibly be going from Black Ridge all the way down to Tech Ridge, and then an overhang, and then this bike park. Like, do that stuff, right? That's going to make it easier for us to attract talent, because when I walk out my door and I go get on a chairlift with a VP recruit, and I get to just go right up to Black Ridge, they can look clear out to Ivins and out to Zion National Park. I mean, you can see everything up there, and hardly anyone in the city's even been up there because it's so high up. There's not really a hiking trail. So, like, don't miss those opportunities. I would say for sure would be my advice to the city, because we do need the talent to come, and all those things help.
It's, you know what, that is such a critical thing, because it's kind of like what we said when we were talking about Zion National Park. The coolness factor of it, the awe of it, it's all those things that when you said it's great to have nice buildings, but when you add that stuff that makes it's so attractive, makes it fun, it makes it interesting, and actually those things you just described speak volumes. Just having that stuff available.
Oh yeah,
the message it gives.
Yes, I mean, we already have the differentiator with the trails. We get that with but but this is a different opportunity, right? So yeah, don't miss it.
That's awesome. So your company, how do people? Want to learn more?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we're looking for talent, right? And that includes local talent. So, people that are coming out of the college that are really great at marketing, or they're great at, they're an engineer, they went into, computer science, go to our jobs page, which is zonos.com/jobs. We're happy to, for anyone to contact us in the community. So, you could reach out to me directly even. My email's clint@zonos.com. And, but yeah, we'd love to, hear from the community and things that we can do better to hopefully build something that is lasting, impactful, and really good in the end. Yeah.
What's the future for you guys?
Good question. Look, it's going to be great. So what I mean by that is how big we get probably doesn't matter in the end. building a great company does matter. And you can be great at any size. You can be great when you have 2 employees or you're just 1, and when you have 10, and when you have 50. And so that is the number one priority for us, is to create a great place, like I said, where people are, behind the mission, and they want to work together, they enjoy being here, and we're solving hard problems. That being said, I think that growth is going to be a byproduct of us building a great company. And so, are you going to see us in a larger building with probably 200 employees in the next couple of years, 3-4 years? Yes. And then who knows beyond that? So that's the whole thing with tech, is and only those that have been in it can really see it. So, but just like we all learned in math, right? Compounding interest, it compounds. Right. If you don't lose your customers, right? We have customers who've been with us for 8 years, and we made more money on them this year than we did last year because we're helping them grow their business. And next year we'll make more money on them. And then you sell more accounts. So don't lose your accounts, and it will just explode, right? And then that's why Salesforce has just gone massively large, is this compounding concept. The cloud, in my mind, is just getting started. And so without sounding ridiculous, there's going to be some, I think, for the companies that will go long here, you can build something big and special for sure.
Boy, it's interesting you bring up that principle, because it applies in every single business. And I can't tell you how many times I've had this conversation just sitting in this area right here, where they talk about that whole idea of you provide something and make sure that you keep those customers and keep them happy. That's such a critical piece of growth, is because they're the foundation. And then year over year, being able to build on the current customers and keeping them happy and good customer service.
Well, and even you, right? Like with your business, I've met with you twice now, right? And you start to build these relationships, and the longer that you go at it, the more benefit you get from that, network. And eventually you're in a really good position so for any business owner,
right?
If you have something good, just keep at it and go deep, and you can build something special.
That's awesome. Thank you for being here. That was amazing. I mean, that was fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.